The city was drenched in golden late afternoon light, the kind that made even skyscrapers look soft, almost tender. I sat by the floor-to-ceiling window of my apartment, the smooth silk of my blouse brushing against my skin as I scrolled through my phone. My thumb paused on a message that made my heart tighten. "We need to talk about what happened that day, your brother, Sophie." I exhaled slowly, letting the hum of traffic below fill the silence. How many years had it been? 7, maybe 8, since my life had spun into chaos over a single, impossible choice. The world saw me as composed, successful, a rising executive with a glossy apartment and an art collection that screamed independence, but they didn't see the mornings I'd cried alone, or the nights I'd questioned my worth. A soft ding pulled me back, a video call request from my mother. I hesitated, fingers hovering over the accept button. Part of me wanted to block it, to pretend those memories didn't exist. And yet, there was that familiar pull, the one that had haunted every milestone, the golden brother whose wishes had once eclipsed my own happiness, and the husband who had demanded I cancel my wedding for him. I rubbed my hands over the cool marble countertop, tasting the faint bitterness of coffee and unresolved tension. I knew the past was coming back, whether I liked it or not. And this time, I wasn't sure if I'd let it control me. It was a humid June afternoon when everything fell apart. I remember the sunlight streaming through the lace curtains of my childhood home, dust motes dancing in the air, like the world was pretending everything was normal. My golden brother, Jason, had just returned from college, glowing with charm and that effortless charisma that made everyone forgive his flaws. I had been standing in the living room, bouquet in hand, the scent of roses filling my nose as I waited for my fiancé, Michael, to arrive. I had envisioned this day for months, every detail carefully planned. But then, my husband-to-be, well, the man I had loved, the one I trusted, turned to me with that icy, unwavering look. "Sophie," he said, voice sharp. "Your brother, he's asking me to stop the wedding. He wants you to stay here. He says it's for his happiness." My hands trembled around the bouquet. My throat tightened. I tried to speak, to tell him it wasn't fair, that I had a life, a love, a dream that didn't revolve around Jason. But my voice caught, a tiny whimper lost in the heavy air. Jason stepped closer, eyes wide but pleading. "Sophie, I just can't handle you leaving. Please cancel it." And in that moment, the world I thought I understood cracked. I wanted to scream, to demand that my life was mine to live. But I had no armor, no shield. Just the hollow echo of his golden smile and my own fear of disappointing everyone. Then my grandmother's voice drifted into my memory, warm and unwavering. "Sophie, a gift only matters if it can take you somewhere you choose to go. Don't let anyone decide your path for you." Her silver locket, which she had pressed into my palm that morning, glinted softly in the sunlight. That locket, her final gift before she passed, was a reminder that I could carry strength even when fear weighed me down. That afternoon, I made my decision. I would leave, not out of spite, but out of necessity. I couldn't stay a prisoner of someone else's happiness, not if it meant sacrificing my own. And so, with a trembling hand but steady resolve, I packed a small bag, kissed my childhood home goodbye, and stepped into a world that demanded I learn to fight for myself. The apartment I rented in the city was tiny, walls bare, furniture sparse, but it was mine. For the first time, I could make decisions for myself, small ones at first, what to cook, how to decorate, when to sleep, before the bigger ones came, building a life entirely on my own terms. I kept the locket from my grandmother close to my heart. It was a quiet reminder that strength could exist in silence. My first weeks were a blur of odd jobs and late-night applications. Every rejection felt like a slap, but I refused to let it define me. Then I met Margaret Hayes, a seasoned marketing consultant with a sharp eye and a surprisingly tender heart. She saw potential in me before I even believed it existed. "You're smart, Sophie," she said over coffee one chilly morning. "Stop apologizing for being ambitious. Build something they'll never forget." Her words sparked a fire I didn't know I had. With her guidance, I took on freelance projects, learning the ins and outs of branding, networking, and pitching. There were nights I sat on my apartment floor, laptop balanced on my knees, trying to craft campaigns that would impress clients, and the tears would come. I questioned my talent, my choices, even my sanity. But small victories arrived, almost imperceptibly. The first client who paid me without complaint. The first social media campaign I designed that went viral. The first profitable sale that left me staring at my bank account in disbelief. I kept most of it secret. No Instagram flaunting, no family updates, just quiet accumulation of proof that I could succeed on my own. I learned to carry myself differently, too. Confidence wasn't just about words. It was posture, voice, the way I met people's eyes in meetings. I replaced my fear with preparation and my doubts with discipline. Slowly, I started investing in myself, a proper desk, an ergonomic chair, and artwork that reminded me of my journey. Some nights, I'd look at the locket, spinning it between my fingers and smile. Each piece of my success was a tribute to the grandmother who believed in me, to the sisterhood of mentors who guided me, and, most importantly, to the woman I had refused to let be broken by someone else's expectations. By the time I began building my first small team, I was no longer the anxious girl who had once feared disappointing her golden brother. I was Sophie Reynolds, quietly unstoppable, her success invisible yet undeniable. I had carved out my life in secret, a fortress of independence and strength, waiting for the day I could show the world, and the people who doubted me, what I had truly become. It had been years since I'd seen my family all together, yet here they were, standing in the lobby of my office building with that familiar mix of expectation and judgment. My golden brother Jason, as flawless as ever in his tailored suit, looked around with the same entitlement that had haunted my youth. My former fiancé, now just Michael, a man whose confidence had always relied on me saying yes, stood stiffly beside him, the faint trace of disbelief in his eyes. I let them take it all in before saying a word. My office was on the top floor, bathed in sunlight that highlighted the abstract paintings I had commissioned and the minimalist furniture that spoke of both taste and strategy. My desk gleamed under the soft lighting, and behind me, the locket from my grandmother sat delicately on a silver stand, catching their attention as if to remind them of the journey they had never witnessed. Finally, I spoke, my voice calm but firm. "Welcome. I'm glad you could come." They looked around, unsure what to say, like children caught in a room they weren't allowed to touch. Jason's mouth opened, closed, opened again. "Sophie, we didn't expect." I cut him off with a slow smile. Expect what, exactly? That I would be struggling? That I'd let my life be defined by anyone else's wishes? Michael's jaw tightened, and I continued, "I've spent the last several years building this company from the ground up. I'm the CEO, majority owner, and yes, I've made every decision without your interference. Every client, every contract, every achievement is proof that I can succeed on my own terms." Jason's face paled. He stepped closer, eyes darting to the financial awards displayed behind me, to the contract folders neatly stacked on my desk. You did all this? Alone?" I nodded, letting the weight of my words settle. Alone, with guidance from people who believed in me rather than tried to control me. Alone, because I refused to let someone else dictate my happiness. For a moment, silence hung heavy in the air, punctuated only by the faint hum of the air conditioning and the distant city noise outside. Their expressions flickered through disbelief, shame, and, eventually, awe. Michael's face softened, guilt replacing arrogance, while Jason's shoulders slumped in a way that mirrored the power shift between us. "I thought you'd be lost without me," Jason whispered, almost to himself. "I was never lost," I said gently but firmly. "I was finding myself." I let that hang in the room, letting them absorb the truth. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The room itself, the evidence of my work, and my unwavering composure said everything they needed to understand. For the first time, they saw me, not as the obedient sister, not as the woman who had once almost canceled her wedding for their sake, but as the woman I had always been capable of becoming. After the initial shock faded, the room felt charged, like the air itself recognized the shift in power. For years, they had expected compliance from me. Now, they were standing in the presence of a woman who had refused to be controlled, and it showed in every gesture, every carefully measured word. I took a slow breath, letting my eyes meet each of theirs in turn. "I'm willing to help you," I said, "but only if certain conditions are met. I've built this life with intention, and I won't let old patterns dictate the future." Jason swallowed hard. "Conditions?" "Yes," I replied, calm but unyielding. "Jason, you need to stop expecting others to sacrifice their happiness for you. You have your own life to live. Pursue it. No more guilt trips, no more manipulation. Michael, you need to confront the parts of yourself that rely on controlling others. You can't be part of anyone's life until you respect their autonomy." Their faces shifted, anger, confusion, shame, but I pressed on. "If you want to be part of my world, you need to grow. No excuses, no shortcuts. You'll take the time to understand what it means to be independent, to support rather than demand. And if you fail, that's your choice, but you'll fail without me." I let the silence settle over the room, the weight of my words sinking in. I wasn't threatening them. I was drawing boundaries. For the first time in years, the power dynamic was clear. I wasn't the sister who bent to their desires. I was Sophie Reynolds, a woman who had fought for her place in the world, and won. Then I softened slightly, letting warmth creep into my tone. "I care about you both, but caring isn't the same as bending. You will have guidance, yes, but it comes with accountability. You'll seek growth, and you'll do it with integrity. Anything less, and our paths diverge." Jason blinked, visibly humbled. Michael's shoulders slackened, a quiet nod of understanding. For the first time, I saw the beginnings of reflection in their eyes, recognition that their past actions had consequences. I smiled, letting them feel both the firmness and compassion of my position. "This isn't about revenge," I said. "It's about justice for myself and the chance for you to evolve. I'm not holding the past over you. I'm offering a way forward, but only if you're willing to meet it." For the first time, the room felt balanced. The locket on my desk caught the afternoon sunlight, glinting softly, a reminder of the strength I carried from my grandmother's wisdom. I realized that true power wasn't about control, it was about choice. And now, the choice belonged entirely to me. Weeks passed, and the changes I had set in motion began to take root. Jason took small but significant steps. He enrolled in a professional development course, started volunteering, and even apologized to people he had hurt in the past. Michael, surprisingly, confronted his own patterns of control and began working on building respectful relationships. Watching them transform wasn't about satisfaction or revenge, it was about witnessing growth that honored both their potential and my boundaries. I sat in my office one morning, sunlight streaming across my desk, the silver locket catching the light just as it had when I first arrived years ago. I traced its surface with my fingers, thinking of my grandmother's words. "A gift only matters if it can take you somewhere you choose to go." Every challenge, every tear, every lonely night had led me here. I had taken the gift of my own courage and carved a life that no one could dictate, no one could undermine. For a long moment, I allowed myself to reflect. The fear I had felt, the weight of expectations, the pain of nearly giving up my wedding for someone else's wish. And then I smiled, because I realized that each moment of doubt had been a stepping stone, shaping the woman I had become, resilient, confident, and unapologetically independent. I looked around my apartment, at the artwork I had chosen, the furniture I had invested in, and even the small details, the books I had lined up perfectly, the cup of coffee I always brewed just so. Everything told a story of self-respect, of boundaries honored, and of triumph forged in quiet determination. The phone buzzed with a message from a friend, a simple note. "You inspire me, Sophie." I laughed softly, letting the warmth of connection fill the room. I no longer needed validation from those who had tried to control me. The strength and love I had cultivated were more than enough. I took a deep breath, standing by the window, The city sprawled beneath me like a promise of endless possibilities. I chose myself, I whispered, a soft but firm declaration. And that choice has made all the difference. For the first time in my life, I felt complete, not because anyone had approved of me, or because I had met someone else's expectations, but because I had finally honored my own. And in that truth, I found freedom, grace, and the quiet power of knowing that my life was, and always would be, my own.